Welcome back to another week of Impossible VHS, the archive on Sundays. I'm glad you are here.
Hi, I'm Pink Tot. I'm here because my owner did not ship me correctly back and I was stolen by a porch pirate. What a funny world we live in, because it feels just like the other side of delivering things, but they are not as anxious on this side. You have probably already heard all the podcasts launched. Well, if not, just look up at the Static Oracle Radio Hour. I really liked that story about Libby. Sorry, my master is back. Enjoy Glen and Impossible VHS.
Chapter 6. Glen. The bathroom smell hit Glen at 6:03 a.m. He had been cleaning the GlobeStar bathroom every morning for 11 months with the systematic patience of someone who had decided that if this was the available task, then the available task would be done correctly. He had a system. The system took 14 minutes. He did not think about the system while executing it because thinking about it made it take longer, and he had coffee to check at 6:15 before the early commuters started coming through. This morning, he was 4 minutes into the system when he stopped. The smell was wrong. Not wrong in the way that a gas station bathroom could be wrong, which was a category of wrong Glen had extensive and unwanted expertise in. Wrong in a different direction. Underneath the cleaning products and the industrial air freshener that corporate required, and the general atmosphere of a small room that processed a lot of human biology, underneath all of that was something else. Faint, organic, with the specific quality of something that was alive in a way that bathroom smells were not supposed to be alive. Glen stood very still for a moment. He had contractor certification in biological recognition. Level 4, standard issue, the kind of training you got so you could identify hazardous materials in transit without needing a specialist. He had used it twice in 6 years of active contractor work. He had not expected to use it in a GlobeStar bathroom in Carthage, Missouri at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. He used it now. The smell was familiar in the way that things are familiar when you have encountered them in a professional context and hoped not to encounter them again. Not dangerous exactly, just present, in a place it had no business being. He finished cleaning the bathroom because the coffee needed checking and the smell was faint enough that it wasn't going anywhere, and he had learned in 11 months that Missouri contained multitudes, and not all of them required immediate action. He filed it in the back of his mind under investigate when circumstances allow and went to check the coffee. Carol came in at 8:47 a.m., which was slightly later than her usual Thursday time, wearing a yellow cardigan and carrying a canvas tote bag from her church that said, First Methodist Carthage, growing together in a font that conveyed warmth and moderate ambition. Glen liked Carol. This was not a professional assessment. Glen tried to keep professional assessments separate from personal ones, a discipline the contractor system had trained into him, but a genuine one. Carol was one of approximately 4 customers who asked how he was doing and waited for the answer. She remembered things. She had asked about his pickup rescheduling situation 3 months ago when he'd mentioned it in passing, and had said she'd pray about it, which Glen had thanked her for without knowing precisely what to do with. She had also, on his second week, asked where he was from, and when he said Singapore, she had said, "Oh, how interesting," and told him her nephew had been to Singapore on a work trip and that it was supposed to be very clean and efficient, and Glen had agreed that yes, it was, and that had been the end of it. The Singapore answer was very good. Glen had noted this early. People in Carthage received Singapore the way they received most things that were far away and competently run, with mild approval and no follow-up questions. She bought her usual things: a medium coffee, a breakfast sandwich from the case, 2 scratch tickets, and then reached into the canvas tote and produced a small white bottle with a blue label and put it on the counter.
Glen, honey, I keep meaning to bring you one of these,
she said. Glen looked at the bottle. Plexum, the label said, in clean professional lettering. Total wellness, complete balance, feel like yourself again. Beneath that, in smaller text, proprietary blend. Results may vary. Not evaluated by the FDA. Glen picked it up, turned it over. The ingredients list was in English except for 2 items near the bottom that were transliterated from something else, imperfectly, in a way that probably looked like marketing language to anyone who wasn't reading it as what it actually was, which was a species designation and a batch number. Glen set the bottle back down on the counter with the careful movement of someone setting down something that required careful movement.
"Where did you get this?" he said.
Pastor Mike started carrying it.
Carol said, with the comfortable enthusiasm of someone sharing something that has genuinely helped them.
His cousin brought it back from a wellness conference in Tulsa. I've been taking it for 3 months now, and Glen, I am telling you, my knee has not felt like this in 15 years.
"Your knee,"
Glen said.
Bone on bone.
Carol said.
The doctor wanted to do a replacement. I've been on the waiting list 2 years, and now it's fine. It's just fine.
She smiled the smile of someone who has been given something back they'd stopped expecting to get.
I just thought you work these long nights. You're on your feet. Maybe it could help with something.
Glen looked at the bottle again. On most of the 11 systems he'd worked, Plexum was a Class 3 biological agent with a distribution restriction rating that put it somewhere between handle with caution and file a report before opening. It was not, technically, a virus. The contractor system's taxonomy classified it as a motivated symbiotic organism, which was the bureaucratic language for something that was alive, that wanted things, and that was very good at making its host feel that their interests and its interests were identical. What it did in the background while making Carol's knee feel fine, Glen was not completely certain of. The effects were species-specific. He had the general contractor knowledge, the broad strokes, the distribution restrictions, the flag and report protocol. But human biology was not his area, and the specific interaction data wasn't something he'd needed before, because Plexum was not supposed to be on Earth. Earth was a non-interference zone. Someone had interfered.
"That's very kind of you, Carol,"
Glen said.
"Can I ask, do you know much about the company that makes it?"
Carol thought about it.
Pastor Mike might know more. His cousin has been real involved. There's a meeting Thursday nights, actually, over at the church, if you ever wanted to.
"Just curious,"
Glen said.
"Thank you for thinking of me."
Carol took her coffee and her sandwich and her scratch tickets and left with the warm efficiency of someone who had places to be and people to care about. Glen watched her go. He put the Plexum bottle under the counter. Kevin came on at 9 for the overlap shift, still wearing yesterday's jacket, and went directly to the coffee without saying good morning, which was normal. He poured himself a cup, doctored it with the specific ratio of creamer and sugar that Glen had observed was the only consistent thing about Kevin's morning routine, and leaned against the counter.
"Hey,"
Kevin said.
"you know about Plexum?" Glen looked at him.
Kevin was already taking it. Glen could tell now that he knew what to look for. A very faint quality of ease, a smoothing of the edges, the look of someone whose background discomfort had been turned down slightly without them fully registering the adjustment.
"A little,"
Glen said.
"Carol got me onto it."
Kevin said.
"Honestly, man, you know how I told you about the store existing in 2 places simultaneously?
"I remember."
It's way less stressful now."
Kevin said, and drank his coffee. Glen processed this.
"Kevin,"
He said carefully.
"the store existing in 2 places simultaneously, is that still happening?"
"Oh yeah,
Kevin said.
definitely still happening. I just don't mind as much."
He looked at Glen with the calm focus of someone who has made peace with a thing.
"You should try it. Carol has bottles."
"She gave me one,"
Glen said.
"Good stuff."
Kevin said, and went to restock the chip aisle. Glen looked at the bottle under the counter. Then he looked at the bathroom door. Then he looked at the small section of shelf near the register where, he now noticed, 3 other customers had left Plexum bottles over the past 2 weeks. Small white bottles with blue labels sitting among the energy drinks and the phone chargers and the novelty lighters. Unremarkable. The way things become unremarkable when they arrive gradually enough. He had not noticed them before. He noticed them now. He picked up each one in turn, read the ingredients lists. Same species designation, same batch number, same 2 non-English items near the bottom transliterated imperfectly into marketing language. Same organism, same batch, which meant same source, which meant someone was moving this through his store's customer base deliberately and consistently, and had been doing so for long enough that 3 separate customers had left bottles on the shelf as casual recommendations, without anyone finding this worth mentioning. Glen put the bottles back where he found them, straightened them so the labels faced forward. The banana lady came in at 11:15, 2 hours earlier than usual. Glen watched her from the moment she came through the door. She went to the lottery tickets, selected one with her usual focused deliberation, went to the banana display, stood there for a moment longer than usual. Selected 2 bananas. She put them on the counter with the lottery ticket. Glen rang her up. She looked at him the way she sometimes looked at him, a little longer than necessary, with the quality of someone who was about to say something and was deciding whether to say it.
You feeling okay?
She said. It was the second thing she had ever said to him. Both times she had asked about him. Glen found this statistically interesting and personally touching.
I'm well,
Glen said.
thank you. You?
She glanced down at the Plexum bottles on the shelf. Something in her expression shifted by a small amount that Glen catalogued carefully.
My daughter got me trying that.
She said.
Few months back.
How is it?
Glen said. She picked up her bananas and her lottery ticket.
My hip feels better,
She said.
but I've been dreaming about the same place every night for 2 months, and I don't know where it is.
She left. Glen stood behind the counter for a moment. 2 bananas. She had bought 1 banana every night for 11 months. 1 banana, 1 lottery ticket, exact change, gone. Tonight she had bought 2 bananas without appearing to notice she'd done it. The organism was mapping something. Glen didn't know what yet, but the 2 bananas were a data point, and the dreams were a data point, and Carol's knee, and Kevin not minding about the store, and the smell in the bathroom at 6 a.m. were all data points. And Glen had spent 6 years doing intake work, which meant he knew how to look at data points and understand what category of thing they were pointing at. He took the Plexum bottle from under the counter and read the ingredients list again, slowly, translating the 2 non-English items properly this time, rather than at a glance. The species designation was a distribution marker. Standard on Class 3 agents, indicated point of origin. The batch number told him something more specific. It told him the batch was recent, local production, not imported from off-world stock, but synthesized here, which meant not just a ship passing through, equipment, a facility, someone who had been here long enough to set something up. Glen looked at his phone. No new notifications from the contractor system. No rescheduled pickup update. No form letters. He looked at the address field in his contractor app, which had a function he had never used. A proximity scanner for registered contractor vessels within a 50-mile radius, designed for coordinating shared jobs. He had never turned it on because there had never been a reason to. He thought about Mike, briefly. Mike was in space because Glen had released the ship 3 months ago and the system had moved it to the available pool, and a triple pay job had brought Mike to a field outside Carthage on a Tuesday at midnight. Mike was in space and Glen was here with a proximity scanner and a Plexum bottle and 43 people in Carthage whose personal cosmologies were being mapped without their knowledge. Glen had let go of the ship. The ship had found Mike. Neither of them had planned it this way. He turned it on. It found 3 vessels. 2 were registered to active contractors, flagged as in transit, moving through the area on standard routes. The 3rd was stationary, had been stationary, according to the location history, for 4 months. Parked at a self-storage facility 12 miles east of Carthage, just off the highway, in the kind of location that was specifically designed to not be looked at. Glen looked at the address for a long time. He thought about Carol's knee, about the banana lady's dreams, About Kevin not minding about the store existing in two places simultaneously because the background discomfort had been turned down. About 3 Plexum bottles on the shelf by the register that had arrived gradually enough that he hadn't noticed them until he knew what to look for. He thought about the smell in the bathroom at 6:03 a.m. and the specific quality of something alive that had no business being there. He thought about the contractor system's non-interference designation for Earth, which was supposed to protect it, and which in practice meant it had no classification infrastructure and therefore no standing to complain about anything that happened inside it, which meant whatever was moving through his store's customer base was operating in a gap that the system had created by trying to protect a planet it had never gotten around to properly registering. He saved the address. Then he turned the scanner off. Then he put his phone in his pocket. That night, at 2:47 a.m., in the specific quiet between the last insomniacs and the first early risers, Glen took the Plexum bottle out from under the counter and set it on the shelf with the others. He straightened it so the label faced forward. Presentation mattered. The overnight had standards even when nobody was watching, maybe especially when nobody was watching, which was most of the time, which was the overnight. Outside, a truck pulled in for gas. Darnell, 3:47 a.m., right on schedule, large coffee, specific jerky, exact change, much obliged. Glen watched him go. Somewhere 12 miles east, in a self-storage unit off the highway, a ship sat in the dark that had been there for 4 months and was, Glen was now fairly certain, the reason that Carol's knee felt fine, and the banana lady dreamed every night about a place she couldn't name, and Kevin had stopped minding about the store. He had the address. He had not decided what to do with it yet. He made sure the coffee was fresh. It was almost 3:40.
That whole episode, I swear I kept hearing Ping thought, well, who knows? That was Impossible VHS, and here is a very awkward promo of one of the things I'm proudest I've ever written.
People ask me what this episode is about. I tell them the truth. It is about a man on a roof. It is about a son who nodded. It is about a lieutenant climbing the stairs. It is about the only kind of love an orc is allowed to have, which is the kind you do not name. Humans would call it a story about succession. Orcs would call it a story about a good death. Both are correct. Neither is enough. Listen to it twice. The second time, you will know what you missed. Once Upon a Tall Tale is a show that is on Wednesday. Don't forget stories told the honest way.